So you're curious about your ancestry, but are at a loss as to how to go about finding your Cuban abuelitos. Here's a quick guide to get you on the right track. For the purpose of this quick guide, we'll presume that you are in the US and want to find enough information to begin your research in Cuba. This is a question we get all the time. I'm new to genealogy and want to research my family, but where do I begin? Whether you're researching your Cuban genealogy or your Irish ancestry, you always begin with yourself and work your way back. Never the other way around. Acquire, document, and archive important documents from your life and your spouse and children. Sometimes we get so focused looking backward that we forget the present and the future. The following are a few of the tools you will need and should have when you begin. They'll help you plan and structure your research. You'll need to take notes, so make sure that you get either a regular notebook or a note-taking app for your phone or tablet. While note-taking is fine, you will definitely not be able to keep up when your relative gets enthusiastic with their storytelling. Always ask for permission, but the best way to make sure you don't miss critical information is to record an interview. Digital recorders are very affordable and easy to use, but chances are you already have an excellent tool at hand, your cell phone. Whether you have an Android device or an Apple device, you already have the capability to scan documents, take pictures, record, and make a video of your interviews. Best of all, the files they generate are already digital and easily synced to your computer. With many great apps available, all you have to do is decide how you want to store your information. By using an online service such as Family Search, Ancestry, or MyHeritage, you're able to access your tree from any computer or device, no matter where you are, as long as you have internet access. If you have privacy concerns, then choose an app for your computer, phone, or tablet. If you decide to put your tree online later on, you can always do so. Most apps have a computer and a companion mobile version for tablet or phone, and there are many really good ones for Windows, Mac, and a few that are cross-platform. These apps will allow you to add photos, documents, audio, and video files to your tree. Now let's look at your next addition to the toolbox. Patience. This tool is essential when doing research into your Cuban ancestors. Civil and church records in Cuba are not digitized, nor is there a central repository for them. We depend on people in the island who are willing to do the footwork and navigate mind-numbing bureaucracy to find records. This work takes time and is costly, but the results are well worth it. Once you've gathered all your tools, the next step is to find your own records. Look for any documents your parents or grandparents might have brought from Cuba, and let your relatives know that you are now the family historian. Ask them if they have old documents and tell them that you will take any and all old documents and photos they want to get rid of. Some will be happy to give you the originals, and others will want to keep them, so be prepared to scan or photograph them at their homes. And always make sure to return whatever you get on loan promptly. What documents should you look for? Birth, marriage, and death records hold a wealth of information for genealogists. Birth and baptism records of ancestors born in the 19th century and beyond will not only have the child's parents' names and their places of birth, but both sets of grandparents as well. Cuban passports name the person's parents. If they came in the 1960s, they will have an alien number stamped on their passport. With that number, you can always obtain the documents your ancestor presented at their arrival in the US. If you don't have their passports, go to your local library and access Ancestry.com to find their entry into the US. With a few exceptions, the paper will have the A file number. If your ancestor arrived in the US in the early 1900s, you can try and find them in the latest census published by Ancestry. These are the official documents we usually rely on, but there are others that can provide clues to missing information as well. All abuelitas kept the recordatorios of their families' baptisms, first communions, and deaths. Those for baptisms and first communions will state the church's name and can give you a sense of the age of the child and where they lived. This is very important information for obtaining baptismal and marriage certificates in Cuba. The ones for deaths will often state the day the person died and sometimes their age. Photos will sometimes have a written dedication or an inscription on the back and will tell you the name of the person and a date. Marriage announcements or invitations will have the couple's parents' names and will give you a hint as to where the bride lived because marriages usually occurred in the bride's town and neighborhood. You'd be surprised at how much information you can find in old newspapers, manifests, books, and magazines. And never dismiss family lore, because as wild as the stories might be, there's usually a grain of truth embedded within the fantasy. Write everything down and then do your due diligence to confirm or dismiss the stories. Make a list of all your living relatives and prepare a list of questions. Call or visit and interview your elders, cousins, friends of the family. Try to talk to the older members more than once if you can. You'll find that the second time you ask them the same question, they'll remember a bit more than the first. Don't rely on your memory or note-taking. Record the interview. If you can film it, even better, but always ask for permission to record or video the conversations. Another tool is DNA testing, and we have quite a few options to choose from. However, it must be said that DNA testing, although popular and useful, is not a substitute for genealogy. So many times we have contacted a match but have no way to determine who our common ancestor is because they don't know anything beyond their grandparents. So now that you've accumulated all this research material, what are you supposed to do with it? You will end up working with two file formats, physical and digital. For paper documents, you need to create a filing system that works for you. Make sure to scan or photograph your documents and photos and convert analog audio and video to create a digital backup. Then store your documents in acid and lignin-free boxes or folders. For your digital files, you should label each photo, document, audio file, and video with names and dates that will allow you to locate them easily. Create a family genealogy folder in your computer and subfolders for each branch. You can get as detailed as you want, however, simple is always better. Keep a record of where and when you got a document or image. When we begin our research, all we're interested in is adding one more generation to our tree and tend to copy information we find online. Remember this, genealogy without sources is fantasy. Always base the data in your tree on documents and reputable sources. If you don't, you may end up following the wrong lines and wasting years of work and financial investment. If you find information in a book, cite the source. If you get an article written by or document provided by somebody else, credit the person. Citing your sources and crediting authors will not only lend credibility to your research, it will help you in the long run if you need to go back to that source for extra information. Lastly, back up your digital files regularly. You can do that to a local external drive or the cloud, and preferably a combination of both. Once you reach a point where you cannot find any more documents, you'll have to find other resources to continue your research. Join Facebook groups for Cuban genealogy, such as Cuban Genealogy / Genealogía Cubana, and for the towns your ancestors were from, and post your ancestor's name and your questions. You can always get recommendations to people in Cuba who can help you with your research. Go to the Cuban Genealogy Club and cubagenweb.org websites and explore the databases. Look for your family surnames in the Enrique Hurtado de Mendoza collection in the Digital Library of the Caribbean. Do Google searches for the names. You might find your ancestor in a book, periodical, or magazine. And of course, We encourage you to become a member of the CGC to participate in our monthly meetings and access our tutorials and presentations. Good luck and happy hunting!